Hello, my name is Lynn Morissette. Today I'm going to talk to you about right whales in shallow waters. It's a case study that we did on coastal lobster fishing ground off the coast of Gaspésie in Quebec, Canada. As you may all know by now, there have been more and more North Atlantic right whales observed in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. And although we see on these maps that I took from whale maps that our survey capacity also increases, there's still no doubt that this species is increasingly present in the Gulf and that we are facing an important coexistence challenge because there are also many fisheries that are occurring in the same areas, may it be crab fisheries or lobster fisheries. Since an important mortality event in 2017, there was a lot of efforts put in place to understand where these whales are and to reduce the risk of mortality on the North Atlantic right whales that mainly comes from ship strikes and entanglement in fishing gear. In terms of fishing, the management actions that were done by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to protect the North Atlantic right whales were to implement fishing closures all over the Gulf of St. Lawrence. And as our understanding of the ecosystem increases, this fishing closure zone system got more and more precise and adapted, going from static closure zones to dynamic closures. And as of 2020, and I took this map as an example, we are on August 16th, there was a series of zones in red that were temporarily closed, and a majority of quadrants in black where fisheries were shut down for the entire season. Part of this adaptation is shown here on the map. In 2020, there was an inclusion of depth in the implementation of fishing closures. The 10-fathom zones in yellow and the 20-fathom zone in blue were subject to different protocols. So you see, depth is an important component of our understanding of North Atlantic right whale distribution and habitat use. Shallow waters are also an important fishing area for many lobster fishermen. Not only are they very present on the field, but this area has a strong socioeconomic value for them. So fishermen's knowledge, because they are there, must be taken into consideration. One of the interesting questions that we can ask is if there's a relationship between water depth and confirmed North Atlantic right whale sightings. And this was indeed a question addressed by the Canadian Science Advisory Secretariat last year. In their report, the main conclusions were that although there was less systematic visual survey effort in shallow waters, the proportion of right whales sighted in shallow coastal waters was very low in comparison to the amount of effort. They also concluded that the primary prey of right whales, which is Calanus, was not commonly found in shallow waters at density estimated to be sufficient to support their feeding. And this is all consistent with the published data examining right whales' habitat use in the Bay of Fundy. But there's still an idea that there's a lack of systematic visual survey effort in shallow waters. So to address this lack of survey effort, along with other things, a fishermen association called le Regroupement des pêcheurs professionnels du Sud de la Gaspésie worked with M Expertise Marine on a sustainable development project which included a systematic survey. The objectives of the project were to first link the ecological, economic, and social aspects of the situation in Gaspésie, and then to enable fishermen to participate in all stages of the management of the crisis in the Gulf, from data acquisition to management measures, and then evaluate the level of confidence of fishermen in the management measures and in their current way of doing things, and then improve that level of confidence based on better data involving fishers and measure the level of compliance, confidence, and respect toward North Atlantic right whales protection measures in the Gulf. And finally, to assess the socioeconomic impacts of the current management measures in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. So objective 1, 2, and 4 were directly connected to that systematic survey effort. This survey was based on a simple approach. We did the North Atlantic right whale survey based on the same protocols that are done in the east coast of the US to increase our knowledge in shallow areas. We did that on fishing grounds during the lobster fishing season. And we did that involving fishermen because they funded the survey and provided their vessels to do the actual survey at sea. In 2019, we did 13 days of survey between July 30th and August 20th. A bit more than 1,400 kilometers for an area of close to 1,300 square kilometers was surveyed. All in shallow water of less than 20 fathoms or 50 meters. In 2020, we covered the exact same area, but over 12 days of survey due to better weather conditions, and it was between July 9th and 27th. We did that on a vessel that was provided by one of the fishermen of the association. So you see here a map of our marine mammal observation. The North Atlantic right whales are shown in red. So what you see is that there's basically no North Atlantic right whales that was observed in shallow areas. The largest cetaceans that we found were the minke whales that we can see in gray on the map. And there was no observation from other crews as well who have traveled in the same area. So no Atlantic right whales were found in over these 2 years in our surveys. I also took the time to put that in link with other factors like the other animals that were found during that survey. You see a map in the lower right portion of the screen. Among all other animal species observed, we talk about cetaceans, seals, and seabirds. The literature does not present any study showing that one of these species have been observed in association with North Atlantic right whales in other parts of the world. Also, we think it's not a sustainable habitat for feeding because of the low density of food, the calanus food in the area, and also because of the low turning capacity. We talk about a 20 degrees of trajectory modification in 10 meters, and the whale feeds mainly on subsurface, which makes this not a suitable habitat for feeding for North Atlantic right whales in shallow areas. So back to our initial question, is there a relationship between water depth and confirmed North Atlantic right whale sightings? Well, our study allowed to increase the systematic visual survey effort in shallow waters, also representing important fishing zones, and the amount of North Atlantic right whales sighted in shallow coastal waters during our 2019 and 2020 surveys is none. So based on 2 years of survey, it seems that the coastal area of Baie des Chaleurs, where the depth is less than 20 fathom, is not an area where the North Atlantic right whales is present. This survey was important not only for the gain of survey effort that we got for coastal areas, but also because it allowed fishermen to get involved in the process. And their legacy through this project is the implementation of an annual inventory process that is fully supported by the Fishermen Association, RPPSG, the establishment of a database specific to observation from the Baie des Chaleurs area to the St. Lawrence Global Observatory, a contribution to the North Atlantic Right Whale Consortium data for an area that was not surveyed by the New England Aquarium team, especially this year due to COVID-19 restriction, and with the same protocol. And finally, a contribution to the Maritimes Region Cetacean database of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And all that by fishermen working hand in hand with the scientific community because their knowledge is important. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact me by email And I'd like to thank all my co-authors and the team members of this great survey effort. And this work was also supported by the Fishermen Association and Le Réseau Québec Maritime, who funded the first year of the survey project.